Welcome to this edition of the Aligned Virtual Summit for 2017. This is actually my first recorded interview for this summit. This is with Drew Woodcock, the VP of Sales for ChowNow, a guy I've known for a very long time. Very excited to have him on the show today. He's going to be telling us his story about helping grow ChowNow from their first VP, being their first VP of Sales. I think it was about 2 years ago, right, Drew? Yeah, and it's helped them grow headcount, revenue, all that good stuff in an amazingly brief period of time. And so, yeah, we're going to hear Drew's story today. He's going to come on. He's going to tell us what he's done to help align both his sales team and his various front office teams, account management, sales, marketing, all that good stuff to help drive growth for his company, which has really done some impressive stuff. So, Drew, very excited to have you be a part of this virtual summit, man. Welcome to Aligned, and thanks for coming on and telling your story.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate you having me here.
My pleasure. And so can you start by telling people both who you are and what ChowNow is?
Yeah, absolutely. So ChowNow works with restaurants, mostly independent restaurant owners, helping them use technology to best serve their customer base. Specifically, what we do is build a customized online ordering platform that allows their customers to order directly from them on their website, their Facebook page. We build them their own iPhone and Android apps. And then we help these restaurants understand how they can use all the customer data that they're collecting to run smart marketing campaigns and target their customers to increase sales and drive profits. So we've been doing that since about 2011. I actually joined ChowNow in May of 2013 as an account executive, selling the product to restaurants all over the country. About 6 to 8 months into it, I was working with the founders on how we might be able to develop a smarter sales process. In the early days, we didn't really know who our competitors were that well. We didn't really know our target persona, who we were selling to, and when we were winning accounts, why we were winning. So I thought if we were going to scale this sales team and grow the sales org, we really needed to come up with a methodology and a process that allow us to grow the team and get everybody on the same page with who we're going after, why we're going after them, and how we're going to get them on board.
So, and you were, like you said, you were the seventh, I believe you were like the seventh member of the sales team there, and you didn't have a VP of sales at the time, right? You didn't have a sales leader. You were kind of, how did you sort of get into that role, and what were the first things you did to help start growing ChowNow?
Yeah, in the early days, it was here's a laptop and good luck. There was some documentation that prior hires put together to kind of try to help each other understand where to prospect or how to do a demo of the product. But there wasn't much in the way of like a buyer persona or a sales process mapped out to understand how do we come up with the best process that caters to our buyer and the way they go about making decisions. As many of you can imagine, restaurant owners are extremely busy. They're not on a computer all day, if they even have one at all. They're sitting ducks at their business, meaning they have to answer the phone. They have to allow people to walk in the front door. So a lot of them can be pretty skeptical or, dismissive of anybody who they think is trying to sell them something. So to kind of break through that noise and that clutter, interrupt their day, and then quickly get their attention to the point where they want to continue listening to you can be tough, especially when you're doing it over the phone. So, when I first became the sales manager, we sat down as a team and really talked a lot about, where are these buyers when they make these decisions? How do they go about making a decision? How do we identify the compelling reasons that a restaurant owner would want to listen to us talking about a new technology that will help their customers order online as opposed to taking orders over the phone. So we worked a lot on that. Interestingly enough, as the new manager of the team, a lot of the conversations we were having around buyer personas and sales process were falling on deaf ears. They were more interested in just closing deals and making money, and they didn't necessarily trust me as their leader quite yet. So one of the things I did very early on to earn that trust was built a model and redesigned the comp plan for the sales team. And if you do it right, there's no faster way to get your sales team attention than to design a commission plan that helps them make more money for just working a little bit harder. So that was one of the things we did early on. And then once that started working for them, we really were able to dive into kind of the methodology that we use here at ChowNow and the process that we follow as far as activity cadence and opportunity follow-up and building pipeline, things like that.
Absolutely. And Drew, can you start, I guess, now by telling people too? I probably should have probably got the cart before the horse here. What has been the growth since you became VP of Sales in revenue and headcount, just total numbers for that sort of stuff?
Yeah, no problem. When I joined in May of 2013, it was 4 salespeople on the team, maybe 5, including me. Right now, we've grown the team up to 40, and we've really broken out the roles. Back then, it was just kind of a hybrid role. There was inside salespeople who would go out in the field sometimes, some people who just stayed on the phone all day. But now we've really specialized the roles and broken up into an SDR program, an account executive program, and then a field program. We're even now building channel partner sales teams. So we've grown that sales org to 40 from 4. And we've increased revenue from $250K to a little over 11 million.
Wow. That's amazing. And so, yeah, let's start then going from there. So you discussed your initial moves to help align the sales team, started by creating incentives to help facilitate things to work more smoothly based on the data you found about ICPs and all that sort of stuff. So can you continue with that story and start telling the next steps as to how you started to drive that success and amplify it?
Yeah, I mean, as most sales leaders know, your incentive plan is really your best tool for driving the behavior that you want for the company. You have to be really thoughtful about which direction you're trying to go, even the language you use when creating incentive plans and activity goals. I mean, as far as like with our SDR program, and when we were asking them to schedule demos, they did exactly that. But when you change the language to something like create opportunities, and you create you hand them an opportunity scorecard that says this is what qualifies as an opportunity, immediately you can see changes in the behavior. And then if you align that with the incentive plan, you really get the outcomes you want, both for the individual and for the organization. So that's a tool that you really should think a lot about. I'm careful to make too much change to that too often. You know, I evaluate our comp plan every 12 months. Sometimes we make a change, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's just all tweaks depending on what's going on with churn and things like that. But creating the roles for each stage in the sales process has been huge. We learned with our remote team as we were growing the field team, there was big peaks and valleys in the production as well as the activity. The leading and the lagging indicators would go up and down quite a bit. And when talking to the team, we just realized that our buyer doesn't give us too many hours in the day to meet. You know, restaurant owners at lunchtime get pretty annoyed if you're trying to dinner time, same thing. So we really developed the SDR role so that there was somebody on the phone all day setting up new opportunities for that field team, so that if they spend all day running meetings, they still have the next day. Without that, it was hard for them to get enough activity in each week to really put up big numbers. And we saw that the average production went up from about 6.5 unit sales per month to about 11.5, 11.7 unit sales per month with the addition of the SDR program. So aligning roles to help cater to our buyers' process and what suits their needs best, so that we can keep our growth as much as possible.
Great. So that makes sense. You're talking about just, I mean, even the time of day you would reach out to people, all that sort of stuff. Makes perfect sense. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that then and discuss the different roles you have in sales in your organization. Can you break out for people who those are and how they work together to help drive success for ChowNow?
Yeah, no problem. So we have the SDR role, some people call it BDR, ODR, all kinds of different acronyms for that role today. Our SDR team here is primarily focused on setting up or creating opportunities for our field team. So we have about 8 people. We have 8 people, in that SDR role, and we have 22 field reps, which we call territory managers, who are out in the field working where they live. And so those SDRs are on the phone with, certain activity goals that they need to hit every day. Thanks to Ambition for helping them make it easy for them to track those activity goals each day as they lead to the results that they're trying to achieve. And they're prospecting, they're going through lead lists. We put a lot of time and energy into sales ops and creating a sales stack and a sales process that has lead scoring, email tracking, presentation software. We try to make Salesforce as easy as possible for the reps to use, so that it's less about data entry and more about moving the lead and the opportunity forward. But that SDR team is mostly outbound, so they're spending most of their time cold calling on restaurants, may or may not know about ChowNow, trying to find a good reason for them to want to sit down and see a demo of the product with one of those field reps and hopefully come on board. And then we have 22 of those field reps, and if they don't have meetings on the books for them set up by an SDR themselves, then they're out there canvassing the streets, walking in the back of the kitchen, walking in the front door, whatever it takes to get the restaurant owner interested in sitting down and chatting a little bit about how ChowNow can help. And then we have currently 7 account executives who are inside sales reps doing the full sales cycle from prospect to close. They don't have SDR support, so it's on them. They do manage a lot of the inbound lead traffic for leads that are not in an assigned territory for one of those field reps. And they also spend a lot of time working our channel partner relationship. We partnered up with one of the largest food distributors in the country. And there was a lot of thought over time that went into, how do we, from marketing, we struggle a little bit with marketing, with demand gen from an online, even direct mail, all that stuff, as far as keeping the cost of sale down. But how do we find people who are already interacting with restaurants every day and trust them? And so with our channel partner, they're introducing us to a lot of restaurants who are a good fit for what we're doing. And the account executives spend a lot of time working that relationship to generate new leads. And then they also do a lot of outbound so that they can set up their own meetings. And then they use the screen sharing technology. We use ClearSlide here. We find it to be a great tool for video sharing and screen sharing to go ahead and get those accounts signed up.
Very cool. So you have SDRs reaching out, you have inbound coming in, you have field reps who are cradle to grave closing, and you have channel partners who are also helping you generate revenue. Does that sum up the 4 kind of like where the revenue streams are coming from? There?
Yeah, you have the inside sales AEs, the outside sales team, and then the SDRs, and then you have the channel partner team as well.
Very cool. That's awesome, man. And so as you built that out, what influenced you to try to go those routes, and how did you test out and find the paths that worked the best for ChowNow?
It's a great question. We always want the unit economics of the inside team make the most sense. But we find that at times, with the mercy of our prospect, being that a lot of restaurant owners refuse to do business over the phone, they live in a world where everything they do is in person with their customer. So they expect the same from their partners. And so we've grown the outside team a lot faster than the inside team. And when growing the outside team, our go-to-market strategy looks at several different metrics, but mostly what is the population and what is the number of restaurants as a percentage of that population, and then what is the strength of other online ordering marketplaces like your Grubhubs and E24s who've already changed the consumer behavior and made people confident about the idea of ordering their food online, and therefore restaurants understand the importance of it. So we'll look at kind of saturation from those big marketplaces, knowing that we can come in and help save those restaurants a lot of money by not charging commissions on the orders, and we can also give them a more customized direct ordering platform so they can compete with big chains, and then we also look at the strength of the partnership in those markets. So how engaged our channel partner is in that market, how many reps they have on their side that are pushing the ChowNow product, and then a bunch of other factors like the strength of restaurants on Yelp and other review sites that tell us how the quality of the restaurants that are in that market, and whether or not we have a big enough addressable market to go in there and win some business. So that's our general approach for the outside team. I kind of already explained how we came about the SDR program. That was really to complement the outside sales folks and to keep the activity high. And then for the inside folks, it's really about demand gen. So how many inbounds are we getting from our channel partners and from our marketing efforts to grow that team? And as inbound lead volume increases, we want to continue to grow that team. As we've learned, sometimes too many inbound leads don't get enough touches, and therefore you're not really squeezing everything you can out of it. And so as we start to see the win rate go down on inbound leads, but we know that the volume's there, that's when we start growing the team. By reducing the amount of inbounds each rep gets just by a little bit, you see they work those leads a little bit harder, and actually the win rate goes up.
Fascinating, man. I love it. Let's touch on real quick your sales stack. I know you addressed Ambition, thank you, and ClearSlide and Salesforce. So discuss what your sales stack is and how you're using it across your different roles and that sort of thing to help drive growth.
Yeah, so at the very top of the funnel, we have Marketo, which owned by marketing, but it still has a lot of value for sales. We use the lead scoring within Marketo to understand the score on both the behavioral side and the demographic side. So looking at lead source and other signals that we have on restaurants like reviews and sometimes revenue, other things like social media presence and influence within their community, to create some standardized scoring. And then on top of that, we layer behavioral scoring when they're downloading white papers and other content from our site, as well as filling out requested demo forms and things like that. So the lead scoring from Marketo helps the sales team that's doing outbound prioritize who they're calling on next, as well as prioritize contact follow-up on opportunities. From there, during the outbound process to generate interest, the sales team's using Yesware. So Yesware to track emails, track presentations, set up touchpoint campaigns, and do mail merges to do mass emails. We come up with some creative strategies to use touchpoints and mail merge to follow up on kind of stale opportunities, as well as generate interest in mass based on current events that are going on in the restaurant industry. Once we generate interest and we move the lead forward opportunity, we're using ClearSlide to demo our product, share our screen, present our decks, share videos, anything we can do to give the restaurant owner a real good idea of what it's going to look like when they have ChowNow as their system. And from there, it's continue to go back to the lead scoring to do follow-up. So it's Marketo, Yesware, ClearSlide, and then Salesforce uses it all. There's one other layer that's a little bit outside the sales process, but more for sales enablement. We use Lessonly for coaching and training. So anytime we roll out a product update or an idea on how to better qualify or prospect or do a demo, we'll do interviews with our different top performing reps. We'll create content within sales ops, and we get that content distributed through a tool called Lessonly, where you can present it in a very fun and engaging way, and then kind of test them and quiz them on their competency for the content they just reviewed, and then also track to see, who's completed the lessons and who hasn't, and you can kind of use that as a requirement for certain promotions or added responsibility to the role, or even as part of a contest that's running in the background to say, if you want to win, you complete all the lessons that are going out.
Very cool. And I guess, can you give us an idea of when you adopted these different tools and which ones you'd say have been the best and most helpful for driving you guys?
Yeah. Of course, I didn't mean to leave Ambition out on there. Ambition runs our leaderboard here, in the inside sales org. We also use Ambition to track goals, kind of like OKRs for the sales team. Some are more manually entered for those of you who use Ambition, and some are automatically updated through Salesforce metrics. And everybody always loves the big anthem that plays when they hit certain metrics. And we get creative with how you can earn an anthem these days, because it was starting to go off a little too often for some people. But
what's one quick example of that?
We actually use Ambition across our sales and account management teams. And so some of the account managers here who when they activate a restaurant who's now live on ChowNow, it's actually 3 anthems. And then we've added some things from a team component. So as a team, you can earn an anthem, and then it's fun to see how the team collaborates to come up with what's going to be our anthem when we achieve, we achieve 10 sales in one day for our group of people or something like that.
Yeah, it's helpful for you guys, because I know you guys have a national sales force, right? So you've got visibility. That way it helps create team camaraderie and visibility across. You got remote people and all that sort of stuff. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, great, man. And going back, I guess, into the questions. So you started out with Salesforce. I remember that from our sales influencer series interview. So what did you add on? Like initially, we're using Yesware initially to do these big mail merges. When did you adopt Marketo? All that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So Salesforce.com was one of the first. It was pretty much just a shell out of the box tool when I joined ChowNow, and we really spent a lot of time and energy molding it into something that works really well for us and across all departments, so that it can be that single source of truth. Yesware was added pretty early on. I think the one thing that I would say is the strongest benefit for us, because of how important it is for us to demonstrate the quality of our product, is ClearSlide, just because we struggled with some of the other screen sharing solutions to really show high quality video and high quality like motion graphics. So when you're presenting to someone who's on an iPad or a laptop or even on their cell phone, if the connection's not great, when things start moving, when we're showing like the widget in action and the apps in action, the quality really suffers. And it's important to us that they see how much time and energy we put into the product. And so for us, ClearSlide really gave the best recipient quality for the viewing of the presentation, as well as the ability to quickly view presentations on even just a cell phone or mobile device or iPad without having to download any apps or enter any meeting codes or anything like that. So I think that one has had a really strong impact on our ability to present the product well. And of course, that helps us win deals.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great insight, man. I know a lot of people out there, we've struggled with screen sharing stuff too here at Ambition. And we, like you guys, we have a product that really requires high quality video to kind of get the full grasp of it. So good intel. And I guess going from there, let's dive into, I know we've talked a little bit about alignment, but let's go a little bit deeper into it. You've got some pretty cool things going on with how you align your sales roles. You have a SDR to AE passport. You have a management transition program. You have all this sort of stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you set that up and how there's alignment within your sales force among your different teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we touched quite a bit on the SDR territory manager relationship, but it's really important to us that we are always in communication with those field reps, gathering feedback on what's working, what's not. It's easy to let things just continue in a certain direction because the metrics look good on the dashboard. You get emailed by Salesforce every day, but it's important to have the conversations with the people in the field and on the phones to make sure that you're not heading down the wrong path. And I gave an example of us learning that just even with the naming of what we're looking for them to do, changing it from schedule meeting to create opportunity, and then creating opportunity scorecards that are not just manager driven. I mean, we have the approval of the field rep and the approval of the SDR on what a qualified opportunity looks like, so that when it's accepted, everybody's on the same page. There's no doubts of collusion or people being unfair to their teammates. So it flows really nicely. We, as a sales leaders, managers, everybody out there, you all, I'm sure, have had the conversation with one of your individual contributors who now wants to be a manager. And those conversations come up all the time, and there's not always a position available. And so we think a lot about career development at ChowNow and helping individual contributors really think about, do I want to be a leader of other people? They think it's the next logical step, but have they really evaluated what that means? And so the first program we have for an SDR here is called the AE Passport. So there's 3 levels of SDR that you earn based on hitting your goals. And the goal is the goal. So whether you hit it in 3 months or you hit it in 2 years, everybody knows what they're working towards. And I think that's really important. It kind of goes with the gamification of things like Ambition helps us to do with performance management. We say, this is where you got to go, however long it takes you to get there, and we're there to support you. And so as you become an SDR 3 and you sit down with your manager and you go through a competency check and then you go through a scorecard, which as an SDR, you know what that scorecard looks like. And if you're able to pass the competency check, you can start what we call the AE Passport. And it's a 6-week transition program with classroom-style training to go through specific courses, co-taught with current account executives on life as an account executive and activity requirements, best practices, methodology, all these great things. And with each little classroom course, they're given a worksheet where they can go back on the phone and apply what they've learned on the phone to start working towards that. And it just means taking the conversation further and further and further towards the close as they move through this transition program. We also start doing demo certification with them to make sure they're ready to go. And then once they've passed that demo certification, we put them in a transition month with a severely reduced activity quota as an SDR, asking them to close a sale. And so, I go back and forth with whether it's a good idea to have them in a multitasking role, responsible for SDR activity and also responsible for the activity as an account executive. But we've learned in this program, we've seen SDRs back out saying, this isn't what I really want. Mm-hmm. And some of them even move into other departments. Some of them have decided that, they don't want to be with ChowNow anymore. Some of them want to stay as an SDR and actually be more of a team lead and have more responsibility on the SDR team. And then we've had, quite a few graduate the program, close their sales during their transition month and become full-time AEs. And so we really love this idea of learning as you transition getting a taste of what it's going to look like before you actually flip the switch and now you're in this brand new thing. And so, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say absolutely, man. I'm sorry, our phone's ringing over here. I love that concept of the passport too. I think that's a great terminology for it, if you will. It's a chance to go and explore and see this other world, right?
Yeah, and we do the same thing with those individual contributors who've been top performers and are now asking for management opportunities. We have a multi-tiered program that could go out years based on hitting certain metrics and changes to the quote over time, added responsibility, to really help encourage those that there's more to achieve on the individual contributor path here at ChowNow. And for those who really want to be a manager when the time comes and we think we have the spot open, we also have a transition program there where for 1 quarter or 3 months they'll take on added responsibility as a team lead. And I don't love the team lead role for long periods of time. I think that someone should either be focused on their performance and their contribution and hitting their goal, or they should be focused on leading and managing other people so that they can really crush their goals. But I do think that the team lead role is important for a short amount of time, depending on your organization and your sales cycle. For us, sales cycle's less than 3 weeks. So in 3 months, everybody get a feel of what that looks like. But taking on, 2-3 reps as a team lead, tracking the increase or decrease in performance of those reps while under the wing of this new team lead, and then the manager working directly with the new team lead on coaching and identifying areas for needed improvement, managing opportunity pipelines, getting more familiar with how to use Excel and creating forecasting models, all the things they're going to have to do as a manager, and seeing how they grab onto those things and how much they like having reps who are calling them all day, every day for help on top of having to, still hit their own numbers, I'll be a reduced quota. And really everybody getting a feel for what that looks like over the course of 3 months. And it's pretty clear at the end of that 3 months if this person's ready to become a manager of people and help those people achieve new heights, or if they were much better suited for an individual contributor. And what's always incredible to me is that it's the person in the program who's the first one to raise their hand and say, this is the place I want to go. And almost every time in my experience, they've been right on. They're not forcing something that's not comfortable for them. So that program has also been really beneficial for us.
That's great. That's an amazing. It's like you said. It's great that there's very rarely a disconnect in how people feel and what you see on your side as to how well they'd be a fit for a particular program.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess getting into our last section, man, organizational alignment. So you're responsible for aligning different parts of your team, sales, account management, client success, all that sort of stuff. So talk about how you're doing that and churn analysis, cross-department shadowing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time looking at churn to understand, who's leaving and why, or even worse, who's leaving before they even get a chance on the platform, those pre-live terminations or churn. And so I've worked closely with the head of the restaurant success team here to kind of classify our restaurants by tier and say, what does a good performing restaurant look like, and what does a not so good performing restaurant look like? And we're always putting together a revised tier sheet for our sales reps to point them in the direction of, here's who we should be prospecting, here's who we should be focusing on. We have do not sign lists for certain concepts or areas that, we lose more than we win. So let's just avoid it altogether and focus on where the wins are. And so we spend a lot of time with restaurant success and also customer success and customer support to learn about, what does good look like once they've been live 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, and what are the ones that just aren't figuring it out and aren't making it. And then we share that information back. I actually meet weekly with the head of the restaurant success team to talk about just in the moment accounts that are either doing well or not doing well, problems we're having with onboarding those accounts, proper expectations being set during the sales process. And we believe in direct, constant one-on-one coaching and feedback. So whenever we identify that there is a great, if you're out there managing a team, big or small, when you identify that expectations were not set properly or something probably went wrong in the sales process, we've learned to give that feedback in a one-on-one environment with the rep. And then they now know that really well. So when they see other people on their team maybe going down the wrong path, they're quick to jump in and help their peer do it the right way, as opposed to announcing in a team meeting, hey guys, we shouldn't be doing this anymore, or we did a really good job with this. What we find is the person who needs to hear it most usually isn't listening intently, and the rest of the people are like, I don't know why he's telling me this. I don't ever do that wrong. And so I learned, and hopefully a lot of you have learned this quicker than I did, that giving that feedback and help coach correct in a one-on-one environment actually, creates a ripple effect that pays off much better than making big sweeping announcements to the team and waiting till like a monthly meeting to make those announcements. As soon as you know about it, get in there, help them do it better next time, and you'll find a positive outcome moving forward.
That's a very cool hack, and I really like that. It makes perfect sense that's human nature, right?
Yeah.
And so the weekly sales, you also have weekly sales and account management sales meetings. Can you describe what those are like?
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of talking about just now. We're going through all the accounts that have just been signed up and are doing really well or having some issues, and we really break down specifically what could have happened to set them up for failure or set them up for success. And then we're getting that information back to the team as quickly as possible about, keep doing this or maybe stay away from doing this. And we also encourage cross-department shadowing. So having people in the account management team shadow the sales team so they can learn a little bit more about what the sales process is like. It's easy for everybody to point fingers, right? Sales is saying account management's not doing a good enough job, with my account, and account management saying sales is doing a bad job selling. They're not setting the right expectations. So having people shadow one another can really clear things up for a lot of people, and seeing what life is like in someone else's shoes can really help you to do your job better. I mean, we had our 2 LA reps come in last week and spend the entire afternoon with the customer support team, including going to their weekly meeting, shadowing calls for 90 minutes, doing some kind of fun team building, get to know each other exercises. And everybody walked away from it just with a whole new perspective on what it's like to be in sales, what it's like to be in support. And I can just imagine the quality of some of these accounts improving that much from the sales side, and just the amount of energy that the support team is going to give each and every account, knowing how hard sales fought to get it in there, will improve as well. So, it really helps to align everybody when you let people get a snapshot into what it's like to live in that role.
Yeah, breaking down the silos. Exactly. I love it, man. And I guess last question, like you talked about aligning outcomes between sales, account management, client success. How do you do that specifically in terms of setting up what the outcomes should be, goals, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, for us, it really all comes down to the first step is to get them onto the platform and into onboarding. And so that's where the SDR and the territory manager and the account executive are aligned towards getting someone into onboarding, and everybody's goals and incentives are all tied to that. From there, it's getting them activated. So it's not good enough just to get them to start the onboarding process. We need to get them live so that the orders can start coming in. And so the account management team is aligned with the sales team in the sense that if the account doesn't get activated, then no one gets credit. So
Gotcha.
The sales team is constantly in communication with whoever it is on the account management team. What do I need to do to help get this one up and running? Is there anything you need from me? The communication is beautiful. It happens in chatter. We try to keep everything in chatter on Salesforce so there's visibility for managers. But we encourage all of our employees to communicate directly with one another. You don't have to go through a middle manager every time, so that it reduces the amount of complaints or finger pointing. Everybody gets on the same page quickly. And then from there, customer success, who's responsible for holding the restaurant's hand through the first 90 days and onward to buy into more marketing, to use other programs to drive sales. That's all aligned with all the way back through the restaurant success team by the kind of the LTV of the account. So how long their accounts that they launch stay on board. And then it drives all the way back to the beginning of the funnel with the sales rep, who is part of that promotion path that we talked about earlier, is tied to their all-time bookings, which is their retention and the performance of their accounts. So end to end, everybody's got a hand in helping these customers succeed, and everybody's focused on the customer first. And everybody can benefit from an account signing up, onboarding quickly, and then doing really well on the platform and staying on the platform.
Beautiful. Drew, amazing interview. Let's I know you got to run. I got to run. This has been, I think, really solid 35, 40 minutes here. Can you tell people how they can get in contact with you to learn more about what you've done, maybe chat one-on-one with you if they have any questions specifically, and then where they can learn more about ChowNow and the exciting things you guys are doing?
Yeah, I love talking about this stuff. So if anybody wants to chat further, easy to find me. Just drew@chownow.com. Or you can message me at LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find, Drew Woodcock. I would say that's the quickest and fastest way. Otherwise, thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. It's been a good time chatting with you.
Absolutely. And Drew, it's been a pleasure. And this goes back to one of our most popular Sales Influencer Series episodes, which I also recommend you guys checking out. Was with you about a year ago. So, Drew, thanks so much. It's been a great presentation for the virtual summit. And everybody, we will see you for the next presentation. Thanks so much, Drew.
Yeah, thank you. You got it.